All right, looks like we're diving into some controversy today surrounding the city attorney of Menifee, California.
Yeah, sounds like it.
You provided us with some pretty interesting sources, excerpts from what looks like a city council briefing document summarizing some accusations,
Uh-huh.
and even a couple of video clips,
Yep.
maybe from like public meetings or online forums.
Right. Those videos,
They don't hold back.
oh yeah,
Seeing allegations of
conflicts
incompetence
of interest.
about this city attorney out there.
Even some hints at ethical lapses.
For sure.
This could get juicy.
Yeah,
So our mission today is to kind of break all this down.
absolutely.
By the end, you'll have a clear understanding of the key issues and what's at stake for the city and its residents. Ready to get started?
Let's do it. Let's start with the elephant in the room that the city attorney is paid hourly.
Okay.
All the sources point to this as a huge red flag.
Yeah, the briefing document in particular uses some pretty strong language.
Right. It says that it's far too costly to pay any city attorney by the hour,
Mm-hmm.
and that it sets up a huge conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So help me understand this. Why is hourly billing such a problem, especially for a public official like this?
Well, think of it this way. Wouldn't you be concerned if your lawyer
Okay.
had an incentive to drag out your case as long as possible?
Yeah.
The longer it takes, the more they get paid.
Right.
So in this scenario, the city attorney's financial interests aren't necessarily aligned with the city's need for swift and efficient resolutions.
So basically, instead of looking for the quickest and most cost-effective solution for the city,
Yeah.
the city attorney might be motivated to prolong legal battles to rack up more billable hours.
Exactly.
Which I guess could explain why one of the videos, Melf Evaluation 102, boldly asks, has Many ever won a lawsuit?
Right.
And then it goes on to list a string of cases: Falco versus Menifee, Furman versus Menifee FE versus Valuewide, AT&T versus Menifee. It goes on and on.
Striking pattern.
Yeah,
And while we don't have all the details of these cases,
right.
it does raise the question, could this potential conflict of interest with the hourly billing be contributing to the city's apparent losing streak?
Is this common for cities to pay their attorneys by the hour?
Well, there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Okay.
Different cities structure their legal representation in different ways.
Okay.
Some might opt for in-house counsel with a fixed salary,
Okay.
while others, like Menifee, choose to contract with outside attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on a city's specific needs and circumstances.
Gotcha.
But the potential for conflicts of interest with hourly billing is a well-documented concern in the legal field.
Yeah.
And it's something that city councils should carefully consider when structuring their legal representation.
Okay, so speaking of potentially questionable decisions,
Sure.
let's talk about the Frontier Communications fiasco.
Okay?
From what I gathered, this bankrupt company allegedly scammed thousands of Menifee residents.
Right.
And to make matters worse, the city itself lost a ton of money because of it.
That's right. When a company like Frontier Communications shrinks its customer base,
Okay.
the city loses out on franchise fees, taxes, all sorts of revenue.
Right.
The Melch Evaluation 102 video estimates Menifee is losing $1 million per year
Wow.
because of this.
$1 million.
$1 million.
That's a significant hit for
That's a significant hit for any city, let alone one the size of Menifee.
And that video really lays the blame at the city attorney's feet,
Mhm.
claiming they dropped the ball.
Right.
And doesn't know how to enforce the municipal code.
Yeah.
So what exactly is the city attorney's role in a situation like this? Could they have prevented this whole mess?
So, as the city's legal counsel, the city attorney is responsible for advising the city council on legal matters
Okay.
and ensuring that the city's interests are protected.
Uh-huh.
In this case, that would involve enforcing municipal codes,
Okay.
which are basically the laws specific to the city of Menifee.
So the city attorney had the power to step in and hold Frontier Communications accountable,
Right.
potentially protecting both residents and the city's finances.
Yes.
But according to these sources, that didn't happen.
Right.
So the question is, why wasn't more done to protect the interests of Menifee and its residents?
It seems like
It seems like there might have been a failure of oversight
there might have been a failure of oversight
or enforcement somewhere along the line.
or enforcement somewhere along the line.
This situation with Frontier Communications makes me wonder about the other cases the Melch Evaluation 102 video mentioned.
Yeah.
Could there be a similar pattern of inaction or ineffective legal strategy at play?
It's hard to say without more information,
Right.
but it's certainly a possibility worth considering.
Okay, so we've covered the hourly billing
Mm-hmm.
and the Frontier Communications fiasco.
Okay.
But there's another element we need to address: the ethical concerns swirling around the city attorney.
Right.
The second video you sent, City Attorney Evaluated #2.mp4, mentions decorum and ethical mishaps.
Yeah, that definitely raises
Which sounds pretty serious.
Eyebrows. And then there's the fact that there's an ongoing FPPC investigation.
Okay, the FPPC. Now, I'm not a legal expert, so remind me what that is again.
The FPPC, or Fair Political Practices Commission,
Okay.
is a state agency responsible for enforcing California's political reform laws.
Gotcha.
They investigate things like conflicts of interest,
Okay.
improper campaign contributions, and misuse of public funds by government officials.
Okay, so they're basically the watchdogs,
Basically,
making sure everyone plays by the rules.
exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So the fact that the FPPC is investigating a city attorney suggests there might be some real substance to these allegations.
Right.
And it's interesting because the city attorney evaluated #2.mp4 video also claims that the city buys the city attorney meals, sometimes at fancy restaurants.
Yeah,
Could that be related to the FPPC investigation?
it's hard to say.
I mean, is it even legal for the city to be doing that?
Without knowing the specific details of the arrangement,
Okay.
there are certainly rules and regulations surrounding gifts and hospitality for public officials,
Right.
and the FPPC would be looking into whether any of those rules were violated.
Oh, it sounds like we're just scratching the surface of this whole ethical quagmire.
Indeed. It'll be interesting to see what the FPPC investigation uncovers.
Yeah.
But for now, let's shift gears and talk about the financial side of things.
You mean the city attorney's hefty salary?
Hmm.
$1 million? It's hard not to wonder if the city is getting its money's worth,
That's the million.
especially given everything we just discussed.
Dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe we should dig a little deeper into that next.
Sounds like a plan.
$1 million, that's a hefty price tag.
Yeah,
For any city attorney.
it is.
It makes you wonder what the benchmark is for these kinds of salaries.
Right.
I mean, is Menifee's city attorney making more than, say, the city attorney of Los Angeles?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It highlights the need for context when evaluating salaries.
Okay.
You know, city attorney salaries are influenced by a bunch of factors.
Yeah.
The size and complexity of the city,
Mm-hmm.
the attorney's experience, the specific responsibilities of the role.
Okay.
It's not just a simple apples-to-apples comparison.
Okay, so Menifee might not be Los Angeles.
Right.
But $1 million still seems like a lot.
Yeah,
Especially considering the allegations we've been unpacking.
it does.
So it raises the question, how is the city attorney's performance actually being measured?
Right.
What are the metrics for success in this role?
Those are key questions that the city council should be asking.
Yeah.
And the answers should be clear and transparent to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, there would be a system of performance reviews,
Okay.
maybe even some quantifiable metrics,
Like what?
like the number of cases won or settled favorably for the city,
Okay.
the cost of litigation,
Uh-huh.
and feedback from city officials and residents.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
It's not just about whether the city attorney shows up to work every day.
Right.
It's about whether they're effectively representing the city's interests.
exactly.
Saving taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
Resolving legal matters efficiently.
And if there are concerns about their conformance,
Right.
there should be a clear process for addressing those concerns
Okay.
and holding the city attorney accountable.
Mm-hmm.
This is where transparency and communication are vital.
Okay.
The city council needs to demonstrate that they're taking these issues seriously
Uh-huh.
and are committed to ensuring that the city is receiving competent legal representation.
So it's not just about this particular city attorney. It's about establishing a culture of accountability and transparency
Absolutely.
within the city government as a whole.
That's essential for building trust between the government and the people it serves.
So if someone living in Menifee is concerned about the city attorney, what can they do?
Yeah.
Where do they even start?
Well, the first step is always to stay informed.
Okay, how do you do that?
They should attend city council meetings,
Okay.
read local news coverage,
Mm-hmm.
and engage in constructive dialogue with their elected officials.
So the more informed the public is,
The more informed the public
the
is.
better equipped they are to hold their leaders accountable.
Exactly.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
But what if they're not satisfied with what they're hearing or seeing?
Right.
Can they actually do something to affect change?
Absolutely. Citizens have a right to make their voices heard.
Okay, how?
They can contact their city council members directly,
Okay.
write letters to the editor,
Mm-hmm.
participate in community forums.
Uh-huh.
The more people who speak up, the harder it is for their concerns to be ignored.
So it sounds like Menifee residents have a few tools at their disposal.
They do.
But what if they suspect there's actual wrongdoing going on? What can they do then?
If they believe there have been serious ethical or legal breaches,
Uh-huh.
they can file formal complaints with the appropriate authorities.
Okay.
For example, they could file a complaint with the FPPC.
Right.
There are mechanisms in place to address these types of concerns,
Mm-hmm.
but it's up to citizens to activate them.
Okay, so it's not about just complaining. It's
Right.
about taking action
Exactly.
and utilizing the systems that are already in place.
Informed and engaged citizens are the cornerstone of a functioning democracy.
That makes sense.
They have the right, and arguably the responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
to hold their elected officials accountable.
Okay, but let's be realistic.
Sure,
How much impact can one person really have?
that's a valid point.
Yeah,
And it's easy to feel powerless when facing a seemingly large and complex system.
like trying to move a mountain.
Right, but remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
One person speaking up might inspire others to do the same.
Right.
And before you know it, you have a group of people advocating for change.
Okay.
And that group can become a movement.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. But let's say you have a group of concerned citizens. They're attending meetings, writing letters,
Yep.
maybe even filing complaints.
Okay.
What are the chances that they'll actually see a real change?
There's no easy answer to that question.
I figured.
The outcome will depend on many factors.
Like what?
The specific issues at hand,
Okay.
the political climate, the willingness of those in power to listen and respond.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Even if the outcome isn't exactly what they hoped for,
Uh-huh.
the act of engaging in the process is valuable in itself.
So it's about more than just achieving a specific result.
It is.
It's about participating in the democratic process.
Yes.
And making your voice heard.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about demonstrating that you care about your community and that you're not just going to sit back and let things happen without holding your elected officials accountable.
Right.
That kind of active citizenship is what makes democracy work.
But let's be honest.
Sure.
Sometimes it feels like nothing changes, no matter how loud you shout.
I understand that feeling of frustration.
Yeah.
Change could be slow,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not always linear.
Okay.
There will be setbacks,
Yeah.
there will be roadblocks,
Right.
and there will be times when you feel like giving up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to remember that progress is often the result of sustained effort over time.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. And even if you don't see the immediate changes you're hoping for,
Yeah.
the act of engaging in the process can plant seeds for future change.
Oh,
You might inspire others. You might raise awareness of the issues. You might even force those in power to justify their actions.
Right.
And all of those things can contribute to a more just and equitable society in the long run.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to get discouraged when you focus solely on the end result.
Right.
But if you view it as a process, as a way of contributing to something larger than yourself,
Yes,
then even small victories can feel meaningful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And remember, the issues we're discussing here, transparency, accountability, ethical conduct, these are fundamental to good governance.
Yeah.
They're not just relevant to Menifee.
Right.
They're relevant to every community,
Yeah.
every city, every state, every country.
So this whole Menifee City attorney situation is actually a microcosm
Yes.
of a much larger conversation.
It is.
About how we hold our leaders accountable and ensure that they're truly serving the public good.
Precisely.
Wow.
And that's what makes this deep dive so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about the specific details of this particular case. It's about the broader principles at stake
Right.
and the implications for our democracy as a whole.
This has definitely given me a lot to think about. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Right.
The more you dig,
The more you uncover.
the more you uncover.
And it can get a little messy sometimes.
Yeah, and it can get a little messy sometimes.
But that's the beauty of it, engaging with these complex issues, wrestling with the nuances,
Right.
and ultimately forming your own informed opinions.
Right.
That's what makes for a vibrant and engaged citizenry.
So we've talked about the allegations against the city attorney,
Yep.
the potential conflicts of interest, the ethical concerns, the FPPC investigation,
Right.
the $1 million salary. It's a lot to unpack.
It is?
But where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What's the takeaway for our listener?
Okay.
What do we want them to walk away with?
I think the key takeaway is this.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, challenge assumptions,
Yeah,
and hold those in power accountable.
right.
That's what being an active and engaged citizen is all about.
And remember, your voice matters.
It does.
It's like that old saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in shaping our communities
Uh-huh.
and ensuring that our government is truly of the people, by the people, for the people.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up. What do you think?
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground today.
You know, it's fascinating how this whole deep dive into the Menifee city attorney situation has brought up all these broader questions
Yeah,
about like democracy and accountability. It's like a good reminder that these issues aren't confined to one small town in
yeah,
California.
absolutely.
They're relevant everywhere.
The dynamics we've been discussing,
Yeah,
the balance of power,
right.
the importance of transparency,
Uh-huh.
the role of citizens in holding their leaders accountable.
Mm-hmm.
These are at play in every community, whether it's a small town or a bustling metropolis.
It makes you realize that democracy isn't a spectator sport.
Right.
It requires active participation,
Yes.
critical thinking,
Uh-huh.
a willingness to speak up when something seems off.
Precisely. We can't just assume that those in power
Right.
will always act in our best interests.
Yeah.
We have to be vigilant, informed, and engaged.
And sometimes that means
And sometimes that means
challenging the status quo.
challenging the status quo, asking uncomfortable questions,
Asking uncomfortable questions.
and demanding better from our leaders.
I think it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of like the government and the legal system.
Yeah.
It can feel really intimidating to even know where to start.
Right.
But, you know, this deep dive has shown that even if you don't have a law degree,
Mm-hmm.
you can still understand these basic principles
Absolutely.
at play and form your own opinions
That's a great point.
about what's going on.
You don't need to be a legal expert
Right.
to recognize potential conflicts of interest or to question questionable spending
Yeah.
or to demand transparency from your elected officials.
And those are exactly the things that these menifee residents are doing.
That's right.
They're raising their voices, they're demanding answers,
Yes.
they're pushing for change.
It's inspiring to see people taking ownership of their democracy.
It is, and it's a reminder that change is possible,
Absolutely.
even if it takes time.
Even if it's incremental and takes time.
Yeah, one voice might not seem like much, but when people come together, when they organize and mobilize,
Yeah.
they can create a powerful force
They can.
for change.
A powerful force for change.
This whole situation makes me think of that quote from Margaret Mead.
Oh, yeah.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
That's so true.
Powerful stuff.
History is full of examples of ordinary people coming together
Right.
to challenge injustice
Yeah.
and create a more just and equitable society.
So for our listener out there
Yeah.
who might be feeling disillusioned or powerless in the face of these complex issues,
Right.
remember, your voice matters.
It does.
You have the power to make a difference.
Absolutely. Stay informed.
Stay informed.
Stay engaged, and never give up hope.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Menifee City attorney controversy.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking.
I hope so.
And who knows, maybe it's even sparked a fire in you.
Maybe.
To get more involved in your own community.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
After all, informed and engaged citizens are the lifeblood of a healthy democracy.
Until next time,
Yes.
keep asking those tough questions.
Keep digging for the truth.
Keep digging for the truth. Keep fighting for what you believe in.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.